Hello, listeners. Welcome to CareSmartz360 On Air, our home care podcast. I'm Carolina Gonzaga, an account executive here at CareSmartz360. Today, we're joined by a ray of sunshine, Melanie Stover. You know her, you love her if you're in the industry. She's the owner and founder of Home Care Sales and a fierce believer that no one should suffer alone at home. Melanie's proven methods to help agencies boost referrals, serve more clients without raising the overhead. So together, you'll discover how to empower both sales and caregiver teams to make a real difference without breaking the bank. How do you change your sales and marketing culture for better results? Start with us right here. Let's talk. Let's jump in. Welcoming Melanie Stover from Home Care Sales.
How are you today?
Hey, great. Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here.
We're excited to see you, usually seeing you in person, and now we're going backwards. Now we're virtual, but I'll be seeing you soon in Dallas anyway, so that's exciting.
Always conference season, so hopefully we'll get to see
Yes.
lots of folks.
You look bright and well rested considering you've been on the road since I think it's Labor Day.
It has. It's been a busy season as always, but I really enjoy getting out to the conferences, seeing folks in person, and listening to all the amazing things that other owners and other home care agencies are doing out in the world.
For sure. And as the owner of Home Care Sales, I know that you do a lot of speaking engagements. There's lots of opportunities to chat and get to know you at the conferences. But I hope that for anyone joining that is not familiar with you, that you really take the opportunity to listen today, and then hopefully maybe connect with Melanie in another way. So I know that you are making a big impact when it comes to home care agencies and their goals, and being able to scale and grow their agencies, and being able to help more people. But I really was curious because from my perspective, the role of quote sales unquote in our space has evolved and changed. And I'm wondering, as somebody with so much experience, where this all began for you, where this kind of path led you. Where can we start?
Thanks for asking that. And like most of us in this industry, as someone who's seen the impact of home care in my own family, my story begins with my grandfather, Frank. Frank became a quadriplegic from polio and lived in my grandmother's dining room, essentially. They turned her dining room into a bedroom for 19 years, surrounded by love and private duty nurses. Of course, it was the demands and care really fell onto my grandmother and my mom and her brothers. But it was private duty nurses. And back then, it didn't look like home care does today, because this was in the 50s. There wasn't Medicare, no Medicaid, no ADA. So this was really about family. And it was those private duty nurses that made it possible for my grandmother to learn how to care for him. And really, that story is the foundation of my life's work. First, as an occupational therapist, as you mentioned, and now as someone who helps agencies across the country grow so that families can experience that same gift of care at home as mine did. My OT background, of course, really propelled me to be a founder here at Home Care Sales 24 years ago. And since then, we've coached thousands of home care, home health, and hospice organizations to win referrals, keep staff engaged, and increase revenue. So my mission is helping teams shift from being seen as a vendor to be a valued care partner. I think that's the term that I really want to put forward. Value-based care is here. Right, is moving from that vendor, which kind of makes my skin crawl, to partner. And I call this a status elevation. So much of in-home care, non-medical, hasn't been really at that post-acute care table fully. And so our intention is, if we can rescue referrals, right? If we can serve more patients to become our clients, serve more families, so that you can serve more deeply, impact more lives, while also increasing your own income.
Yeah. My question first is, what comes to mind is, a lot of the training and the kind of advising and coaching that you do is probably about really being able to make the most out of referrals, but then also once you get that connection to the family, how do you make the most of that? So do you see that as kind of two separate parts of the quote unquote sales process, not only building those referral relationships, but then what do you do in those conversations with the people that you're really kind of trying to be a part of the circle of care and trying to find your way into that spot?
Yeah, and I love this conversation because this also bleeds us into care management, right? And we recognize the holistic value of home care, not only as it relates to referral partners, which is where the majority of my life is spent, is focusing on the care network. So how do we get referral partners to refer to us so that we can care for these families? I also recognize that home care is a two-part sell. It's not just the referral that comes from our medical referral sources or other trusted advisors, but it also then has us go to the families because oftentimes they are our payer source. We got to get them to say yes in order to be able to provide the care. I do see that as two separate things. Some agencies have two separate roles for that. And others of them have the salesperson or liaison marketer, whatever they call them, also fulfill that role.
Yeah. When we were talking earlier, you were talking about kind of the type of trends that you see and how you try to challenge the folks that you coach to go beyond those kind of typical approaches for referral. Can you talk a little bit about maybe an experience or an example of how you're trying to change the mind shift of folks trying to make those referral relationships?
For sure. I will share with you that in the past, I've been criticized as being too medical in non-medical. So I've had franchisors share with me like, oh, Mel, tone down the medical side of your coaching because we are non-medical. And I challenge that deeply. Of course, we're going to stay within our scope and we are going to do the right things according to our guidelines, our state guidelines. I would also submit to you at our core, we are supporting the medical treatment plan in a non-medical way. 70% of what we do in the home as non-medical care providers is support that medical treatment plan, support that chronic care disease. And so, early in my career, 20 some years ago, when I was in the hospital, in the clinic, I would hear people say regarding non-medical, oh, the sitters. Like, just get some sitters and they'll be okay.
Makes my skin crawl.
Right? No one loves that term. And I personally do not love that term. I also appreciate some of the older folks still have that mentality of that. And I would also submit the research studies say that 70% of health is social determinants of health, which is exactly what home care supports. So I really challenge that, which means that it goes back to, I just said it a few minutes ago, but I talk about this all the time in our coaching programs, is that we are elevating our status. If people used to think medical was here and non-medical was here, we didn't get a seat at the table. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is our frameworks to get folks up to the level of their medical referral sources so that they can get a seat at that post-acute care table, because I believe deeply that you belong there. I believe that there's only so much Medicare certified home health can do. And what happens to the other 160 hours a week that Medicare certified isn't there, for example? So there's a lot, it's a big mind shift for some folks. I'll be honest, I'm not going to lie. For some of them, it's a little tough. And we did see this in the past. You would go into referral partners and you would see like the cookies and the cakes and the stuff from non-medical home care providers. And I lovingly say to everyone we work with, listen, I didn't go to school for 7 years to be a caterer. Like, that is not what I'm doing here. So how can we bring value? And right now, value base is hot. Everyone's talking about value-based, but are you, as a non-medical care provider, are you talking about value-based? Because if you're not, you're missing the boat.
Yeah, for sure. So talking about that big shift in mentality and trying to encourage the language to be elevated to that level of not necessarily medical, but a part of the team. Let's talk about the shift from vendor then to care partner. Would you say that that's exactly what you're talking about when you talk about that distinction? And is there more to that mind shift to, or even like, I know that you've coached a lot of organizations into that mind shift. What do you think when you think vendor versus care partner?
I think it's a great question. I don't love the word vendor either. I appreciate it. I understand the definition of it. Yesterday, I was on a franchisor webinar I was doing for them, coaching. And what I said was, guys, vendors sell tasks, like the bathing, dressing, grooming tasks, where care partners solve problems.
Yes.
So the first change really is in the conversation. Instead of handing out the brochure and being like, we do, I hate the we do's, right? It's the laundry list. We do bathing, dressing, meal prep, grooming, transportation, and clean up the cat litter. I don't know. But here's what I know is that nobody cares about that. Everyone thinks they already know that. All our referral partners think they know it. And so they don't want to see one other home care rep. When you change the conversation, now you differentiate. So something like, tell me about the patients who are most difficult to keep at home, or what's an initiative you're working on. It practically, when you're looking at this, you just want to change the conversation. And that means listening a little bit differently to how you're speaking out in the world. So when you position your agency as a problem solver, even smaller agencies become indispensable. And that's where we want to get with, right? Because our vendors wait in lobbies. I go out in the field all the time. If you are seen as a vendor, you're getting stopped at the gatekeeper, you're getting in the lobby, they're in a meeting, they're too busy to see you. Care partners get a seat at the table, and that's where we all want to be.
Yeah, for sure. In all other industries, you see, the threat of an individual, like a salesperson, a referral partner manager, losing their role in today's day and age with online marketing. And I just feel like this is the type of role, this is the type of industry where it's so important, the people that are actually doing the job and having those conversations. It really is still truly a people business. So I can see the importance of this shift because really families and patients need to make the connection with the right type of support. Even in our industry of CareSmartz being, a technology, even the word vendor is something that even if our customers see us as a vendor, like we know that it's not going to be as successful or flourishing of a relationship. So I just think that change is so important across the board. One of the things that I thought of when I was prepping for this podcast is I actually have a background in sales for like assisted living type scenarios, similar but different. When I think of our business, I wonder how complex it is for a salesperson or an agency owner having a conversation with a referral, because there's so many paths that the conversation can take. Do they need home care, home health, hospice, palliative? So how do you recommend that an agency begin to make the connections to all the services that they offer while meeting that patient or family where they are?
Yeah, what a great question, because what it shares to your listeners is that you understand that the continuum.
Right.
We're the only sales trainers that I know of that cover the continuum. We work with home health, hospice, and in-home care daily. We have agencies that we coach. We have agencies that we manage. We have agencies that we simply consult with across the continuum. And I think the benefit of doing that for anyone who works with us is that we see the continuum in detail. So when we work with home care, and right now I have a few home cares that we're consulting with in the Midwest, and the thing that they're a standalone home care. They don't have the continuum under their own umbrella.
Right.
but that is okay. All of our home care sales reps go through home health 101 and hospice 101. We have courses on that because we believe deeply you don't need to know everything about home health and hospice. What you need to know is enough so that you can be the guide. Patients and referral partners don't want these functional silos. And honestly, most of the time, they don't know where to put the patient either. They don't know exactly who's eligible for what. And I think that's where you can come in as the guide for that. We have, we coined a phrase and have a model called the total patient care delivery model. And the reason that we did that is we believe that home health, home care, and hospice shouldn't feel like separate silos. And I know you don't either, that really we should work seamlessly together. Patients don't see these as different industries, right? When a family is calling for a potential client, they just want care, and
They want help. Yeah.
To feel connected, not like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we don't do that, go call Joe Schmo. Like, that's not helpful, right?
No.
And I would also submit to you that referral partners don't want to hear disjointed pitches. They want to know, like, how do you keep this patient from falling through the cracks? And if you're the one that connects the dots, if you're the one who knows, like, hey, this patient might qualify for home health, even though you're home care, you're the bridge. You're the one becoming the guide. And that makes their job easier and positions you as the one who understands, is the post-acute care expert. So we teach that as part of our referral engine growth system, because we want your reps to be, or you to be, the guide for your referral sources, you know, because patients don't live in silos. So our sales messages can't either. And I appreciate, you know, when you're seen like that, just like your platform at CareSmart is seen as someone who's got their act together, someone who can help put the pieces of the puzzle together, that really gives agencies clean data and builds trust, so that then they can build trust back to their referral partners throughout the continuum of care. And I know you guys work really hard at that. So thank you for all that you do.
No, thank you. Thank you for seeing it. When you are coming from the sales background, and again, in a different industry, but similar, and this might be a touchy question, Melanie, sometimes salespeople are seen as kind of working against the people that are doing the work. So when you hear about, when we go to a conference, we're hearing, how do you build your, you know, your census? At the same time, how do you deal with retention, recruitment? How can you speak to how marketers can, at the same time as growing census, support staffing initiatives? It feels like also getting away from our silo and thinking more holistically within the agency.
100%. So what I know is that when I do my job right, I put a lot of pressure on the ops team.
Right, exactly.
And I would submit to you, and all the agencies we work for, or work with, I should say, the thing that limits my growth more than anything is staffing.
Yeah.
Right? Workforce. And I know this is not a new subject. I appreciate we've been talking about this clear back before COVID, and then COVID really did us in. And now I start to see staff coming back more readily, which I'm extremely grateful for. However, wherever I was at in that timeline, the thing that I know to be true is that I am limited by staffing in every agency. So especially during COVID, you know, if you would have heard me before COVID, I was very oriented to being like, referrals are our responsibility. Go get referrals. You can do this for referral. And then COVID happened. And I recognized very quickly that we could no longer be this lone wolf out there getting referrals. We had to become part of the team, because I can only sell as much as I have staff, right? Staff is my product. So recognizing that, we really went into kind of hyper-focus mode. We call it an R-cubed rep. A rep that focuses on referrals, of course, first and foremost, always referrals. That's how we're judged. retention, and recruiting. And I say retention because, number one, I know I'm probably going to ask a caregiver to do something miraculous any given day, right? Can you start a shift in 2 hours? Something wild, right? I recognize that if I don't have a good relationship with some of my caregivers or my caregiving staff, right, my schedulers, I'm going to be in really big trouble. I'm going to ask them to do that. And they're going to be like, that Melanie, all she does is look good. She goes out and wears her cute clothes and goes to lunch with people. And I'm over here slaving away trying to find the right fit.
Yes.
Right. So we've always said this, like, inquiry is your internal customer. Your scheduler is your internal customer. We've always said it, but now we like really make it part of our sales training, is that, guys, we've got to be able to have great relationships with our internal sales team, even though they don't love that word. Like, they don't want to be called salespeople, but really that's what they are. Our internal sales team. Most industries have an inside sales rep, right? We don't think of our folks that way, but that is really what they are. And then secondly, retention is easier than recruiting, quite frankly. If you can just love on your caregivers a little bit so that they want to stay and want to say yes to you, that's easier than me going out and finding brand new caregivers to come in. Now, that being said, we're always recruiting too. When we're out in the field, we're not looking to poach anybody from any of our medical referral sources. But what we're saying is, just like me, I was working at the SNF with rehab and did visits for home health on the way home. I was just PRN visits first. And I think about our caregivers the same way. I like to bring in caregivers sort of PRN, just because then you can figure out, how do they work? Do you like them? Is this something that, you want to continue this relationship? Then your ops team can kind of just try them out. But your marketer or liaison salesperson has such a big impact and a role to play in all three of those. They're not separate. They're sort of this, different sides of the same coin. Is you got to have all three of them in order to make your agency grow.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I just love the way that you said, oh, the sales girl is always going out and her cute. I was that person, right? And it's like, I'm working so hard, but it does have to be, the job doesn't stop when they've signed the contract, obviously. So it's also an acknowledgement of like, well, we've won a new client, and now we're all going to be a part of making it a success. So
can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
In your messaging, you brought this to my top of mind, but and an easy way to do this, because some people will be like, Mel, I'm not sure how to do this. I got the referral part. Like, let's go in and ask about these type of patients or clients or residents. I got that part. But how do I kind of drop in, we need caregivers too? And one of the ways that I like to do that is by highlighting a caregiver. They can simply tell a quick story like, hey, I wanted to tell you about Mary. Mary is an amazing caregiver who actually helped reduce and stopped an ER visit last night because she was able to identify that our client was starting to have a little bit of weight gain. When she jumped on the scale at dinner time, her weight was up by 3 pounds. And so Mary encouraged her to call the home health nurse, and the home health nurse said, go ahead and take one of your PRN diuretics. And I think we stopped an ER visit.
Yeah.
Does a couple things, right? Number one, it gives context to what we do. Because if you just say we do home care, not everybody gets that, right? Number two, it shows that Mary, our caregiver, helps in a way that is not just sitter service. It shows that Mary is a competent professional care pro. And three, it also speaks to outcomes. Talks about, hey, I think we just prevented a hospital readmission or an ER visit or whatever it is. It allows them. And finally, it also gives you a little bit of context to our culture. Like, we celebrate our caregivers, not just like, oh, that's part of their job. Good job. Yeah. Right.
And teamwork too, calling the right person to advise and then
Yeah.
being trusted to take that plan of action. And it goes right back to where you started too, is elevating the team beyond sitter to a part of that care team, basically.
Yes. And this is all within our role. It's much more holistic than just go get me some hours.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
requires
absolutely.
your marketer or salesperson to be integrated into your ops team to know that even happened. That
Right.
Mary did a good job out in the field.
One thing I thought of is when a salesperson, or whatever their role is called, has to say kind of a no to a referral that's come in, or even no to a family at this time. Do you have a couple, maybe two, pieces of advice on how you can be transparent while at the same time keeping that relationship warm? The reason I ask is, as you know, with somebody needing support, that changes from day to day, hour to hour, and from situation to situation. Like, somebody might be a no because they're not at baseline right now, but then you may be able to. So I always used to say to my salespeople is, like, don't just think about what's shiny and new now. You also want to nurture those relationships. So when you're having to say no to somebody right now, you can't really put them on your schedule now. What is a way that the salesperson can keep and nurture that relationship while being honest and not misleading?
Yes,
That's a big
100%.
one.
So this happens every day. Every day. Last week I was out in the field again with one of my favorite clients, and one of the offices, they have 8 offices, one of the offices doesn't have staff. I mean, they have staff in a very narrow window. They're reorging and they're moving some stuff around. And it's not no forever, but it is going to be no for the next 6 weeks while they reorg this place. And we've all had this situation. Maybe it wasn't a reorg, maybe we couldn't find somebody. And so there is some challenges there. And the rep, specifically why I went out with her, is because the owner said to me, she needs help because we don't have staff. We can't take these referrals, but we don't want to lose them.
How frustrating for that person as well.
Client,
Yeah.
right? And of course it impacts her pocketbook. I mean, there's lots, this particular one could have us a whole conversation for the day, right? But what I share with you is a couple things that I said to her, and I'll say to you and your listeners, is number one, a quick no is better than a long maybe. If the answer is no, tell them truthfully. The answer is no right now. And then tell them your next steps, but we're aggressively recruiting, or we're in the middle of a reorg and it's going to take us about whatever it is, right? Tell the truth. And I find that a quick no is better than a long maybe. We've followed up with case managers after the fact, because this is not a new problem. And they've all said, we really respect the fact that you said to us, that you can't, or in this geographic area. I would also say the second thing is be a connector. If it isn't you, then who? We all have good competitors in our areas, people who care deeply, people who have similar values to us, and they're a fine connector, meaning you give them, you make that connection now, they'll probably make that connection back to you later when they don't have staff. So be a connector if that's possible. And then the second thing is be educational. We believe deeply in educational-based sales. All of our sales messages of the week are around education. Every time we go out in the field, we are educating our referral sources on something. Now, we don't say that to them. We're not like, hey, Carolyn, here we are, come to educate you. No. But the message is around education. And so even though we can't see them right now, just like with Laura, the lady that I spoke of that I went out in the field with last week, what I said to her is, we have to be there. We have to continue to deepen the relationship and keep it on simmer. Because if you tomorrow, right, get 5 new caregivers, you need to put them to work. And you're going to have to try and get on. So how do we do that? How do we do it fast? Well, we don't do it by hiding and being like, No, I'm not
avoidant.
gonna see
Yeah.
them. They, because I can't take anything. Use that time wisely to educate and deepen the relationship so that when you do have staff, bam, you can turn that knob up, turn it on to high, get them boiling, and get them going, right? Uh, I would say to you, a no today with honesty often buys you a yes tomorrow with trust.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And being able to refer if need be, really reminds me again of when we talked about all of the different, uh, types of care that can be provided, that maybe you don't even offer that, but being able to say who is such a builder of trust. And then that relationship of somebody that they might refer you to a friend, knowing, you know what, I actually came with them ready to sign and they weren't the right agency for us. And then they found that person. So it all leads me to think about just the overall shift in sales and marketing approach at an organization. So I applaud the agency owner or the franchise manager that said, come out here, Melanie, we need your help because we can't serve all these people that we're getting referrals for, but let's empower that salesperson, because then it doesn't end up being just their problem. And now they feel supported and they feel like they have an action plan, even though they can't necessarily close that referral today. So how does one come to that shift that you just described to me, a real system in place of how it can all work, even when things can't be perfect? So if there's an agency listening that, wants to change their approach to sound more like one you're describing, where would you say they should begin, or mistakes to avoid, or what would you tell them if you could give them like a quick word of advice?
Yeah, so most agencies we work with in the beginning lead with tasks. I hear this all the time. We're non-medical care, bathing, dressing, grooming. They lead with these tasks and not outcomes. And we hear this, and when they lead with we provide bathing, meal prep, uh, transportation, that's that vendor list. You're already going on to the vendor bucket, right? Instead, lead with impact. We reduce our ER visits. We help families sleep through the night. We help keep patients
Mm-hmm.
in the hospital, right? So change your words from the tasks to the outcomes. That would be the number one thing that I see most agencies lead with tasks and not outcomes. If you could change that one thing, it would change the trajectory of your agency. And here's the deal, positioning costs you nothing. You're simply changing the words and you're changing your value story. The real differentiator is outcomes.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, that patient safety, family peace of mind, all those things that we know to be true, we don't often lead with those. And I think that's where why our programs work, because we have those reps really think deeply about how they're positioning themselves in front of the referral partners. And I think when you shift from that task talk to outcome talk, you serve more people. And it doesn't increase your G&A just to simply transform the way that you talk about it. So, and I also know have living in the medical community as I do, it's all about value-based care. And that's what they want to talk about. So how are you matching their words? How are you matching what's top of mind for them right now in order to get those referrals?
Yeah. For my last question, and this will probably pull from your years of experience and all of the times where your leadership and your support has been, successful, and maybe times when you've realized that, oh, this is somebody that may not be suited for this role. I'd like to ask you, what are the types of kind of characteristics that you feel are key to being successful in a referral source manager or a salesperson in our industry?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a quick version. I think many owners look for a people person. You'll hear this often. You'll hear owners go, "Well, I chose her because she's great with people," or "He is a people person." And while that's one type of rep, it isn't the only type of rep. And I would submit to you that sales, and you know this because you're in it, right? Sales is a whole lot science and some art.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I am most proud of at home care sales is we have framework after framework after framework. Just like when I was an OT, the clinical protocol kept me in between the ditches. I was able to treat that patient and follow them, hit the milestones so that I'd have good outcomes, but I still got to be me. It didn't tell me exactly what to say or do, but it allowed me to be me. And so we've applied that same concept to our sales training. We have frameworks that help you hit all the milestones, but allow you to infuse your own personality into it. So what are the characteristics? Well, think about your favorite salesperson. Do you have a favorite salesperson in mind, like that you love?
I do.
What are some of the characteristics of them?
I think being able to adjust, not is a people person, but also can pull it back. It's that flexibility. It's that being able to make decisions on a fly and also adjust themselves to who they're talking to, who they're selling to, who they're working with.
For sure. And so I'd ask the owners listening to think about the same thing. Who is the sales rep you love? We have tons of salespeople who come and call on us as a small business. They come knocking on my door. And some of those folks, I will get up out of my chair and go to that door and go say hi to. And some, I'm like, oh, Lord, sister,
Here we go.
Just let that door be shut. I'm not going to go out there. So I would ask you to apply some of those same things. And consistently what we see is folks who are able to build rapport quickly. You can put them in a room. That's that people part where someone will be, oh yeah, she's a people person. What they're probably really saying is she can develop rapport pretty quickly. And that's key because you and I both know we're up against gatekeepers that give us less than 3 seconds to connect. We actually on staff have an NLP practitioner, a medical hypnotist, and a nurse all in one. She's her own little phenomenon. We use her a lot in our trainings because so much of what we do is body language and subconscious and mindset to persuade the other person in just even letting us in the door. Mm-hmm. So we talk about connection, dropping into rapid rapport is what we call it. And then the second thing is, are they coachable? Because you're going, if it isn't me, you're going to find someone else, right? And it may be you. It may be you as the owner who are going to be the coach in that situation, or maybe us. And the thing that we know to be true, there's been times when we have had to call owners back and be like, this person isn't coachable. I don't want to waste your money. Like here, if you want to choose to continue with this person, please do, but not with us, right? So I recognize coachability is a big deal. And then finally, give them the tools and frameworks. Again, we try to give these frameworks that we know are going to work. You just got to work them. Yeah. And they still get to put their own spin on it. We don't make them be like a robot and be like, go out and see all your referral sources. What we ask them to do is follow the framework and then put their own little twist on it so that it can be authentically theirs. And I think that, it is not an easy role to find. They're quite independent. They are quite out there. It's a little bit like herding cats sometimes. I also appreciate what we ask them to do. Most people wouldn't want to do.
Yes.
Go out and knock on doors and have that level of rejection. So I recognize that it is a good fit for some. And it's our job to find them and bring them into the agency and then be able to get them to bring in those patients or clients or residents so that we can impact their families and their lives.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Melanie. I look forward to seeing you in Dallas in, I guess it's a couple of weeks, a week or so. I'm thinking of you. I know this is a busy time, but your advice, your coaching is so much needed in our industry, and I appreciate you so much. Thanks
Oh,
again.
well, thank you. We appreciate you. And I can't wait to see all your listeners.